Oh, and it looks like the race is underway. I was not paying attention to the race channel. So we see a damage boost from Darksol early on. Doesn't save too much time, but you have plenty of health to work with in this first stage. So even though it's only a few frames, there's absolutely no reason not to take advantage of the 6 health that Kirby has and save what you can. So as I mentioned, MKCocoon is definitely going for an RNG manip here on Poppy Bro, so we should see 3 bombs from him. Looks like Darksol got it as well. So we're still neck and neck here. Pretty similar movement all around, regardless. There's not a whole lot to do different here in this first stage. Saw another damage boost there from both competitors. We've got a slight lead for MKCocoon just because Darksol had a little bit of trouble going into the door right before the tree. Now this is where we should see MKCocoon most likely gaining a little bit of time just because he does have an RNG manipulation. I'm seeing Darksol do some little hops that look like she might be confirming the RNG as well. If so, I think that's relatively new. I haven't heard her talk about going for it. So if that's the case, then this might be even more even than I thought, going through at least the second stage. So here on this screen, you'll see MKCocoon doing a couple short jumps. When he lands from those jumps, he's actually watching the particle effect that comes out from Kirby's feet, because the direction that particle effect goes tells him which direction, tells him whether he's on the right RNG seed or not. So MKCocoon, it looks like he got the pattern he was expecting. Yeah, I still can't tell for sure if Darksol is going for an RNG manip or not. Either way, there's a slight lead for MKCocoon going into this boss fight, but it's only slight, just a few seconds. He should pull ahead here, though, because it does look like he got his manipulation. He got 2 ideal patterns. That last pattern would have worked, but he was expecting, because they did spawn in adjacent rows, but he was expecting them to spawn in the top and second from the top row, but he actually got the 2 middle rows, so he wasn't in position to get the double hit there. Still, he's got, I think, about maybe a 7-8 second lead here going into stage 3. So we'll see if he can hold that going forward. Again, as I mentioned before this first race, these 2 competitors are pretty evenly matched. Their PBs are only 4 seconds apart. Neither of them having any difficulty with the water sections in this level. MK getting hit in the wrong direction there on that cannon. Looks like he landed a little bit further forward than he meant to. All in all, though, very clean movement from both runners. MK looks like he'll be going into the Cabula fight with 4 health. Darksol looks like she'll be going in with 5. Either way, both of them should be going in with plenty of health to just kind of sit right in front of Cabula and fight as close up and as quickly as they possibly can. Yeah, and as I said, MK is not really going out of his way to dodge any of these bullets. We have Darksol entering the fight as well. They're both going for approximately the same fight. MK ends the fight on top of the star, so very clean from him. Darksol does as well, so... It looks like Darksol might have made up a little bit of the time that MK had saved with his RNG manipulation. We'll see in this next stage how much, if she can make up any more of the difference. Both of them really making some of this platforming look incredibly easy. Jumping between the Scarfies earlier in that room is pretty tight, and neither of them really stopped even a little bit here. So a difference we just saw in that room, Darksol went for kills on both of the Waddle Dees. MK chose to only kill the second one, and since he did leave the first one alone and it did end up using a beam attack, it did cause a pretty good amount of lag. Darksol unfortunately gets hit the wrong way, normally not too big a time loss, but as a result she ended up falling down, so that probably lost her a good second there. It'll be interesting to see if either of these two competitors do anything fancy for Cracko Jr. here. Doesn't look like it. Looks like they both just kind of hug the left side of the screen, which is completely safe. There's a section more in the middle that I've seen. I believe it was Speedman. He'll kind of sit in the middle and let Cracko just jump around him. I don't know how precise that is, but I have not been able to do it myself. Got the visual glitch from Darksol there. Doesn't really affect the time as far as I know, but it's interesting to see. Both of them going through the curry room here, just blasting as fast as they can. Looks like neither of them are getting a ton of lag on that screen. If you're unlucky with some of the particle effects in the background, it can actually trigger a pretty good amount of lag there. So we're here at Cracko. This is probably the first place where we can really see a swing in their final time, just based on the RNG they get. So Cracko has a few different patterns it can do. Can either attack with the beams, it can drop an enemy, or it can move to the other side of the screen. It can't do the same thing twice in a row. So basically the way we're looking at this is ideally every other movement would be dropping a Waddle Dee. MK actually getting pretty good luck from what I'm seeing. Yeah, very solid luck for MK. Darksol is not getting too much worse. I think these last few have been dead cycles for her, but there it is, and I think we're looking at less than a 10-second difference here. Fade out at 50 flat for MK, and it looked like 56 for Darksol, so looking at about a 6-second difference. So they're entering the last level of the game, which is just a nice little boss rush here. Solid time, solid movement from both of them so far in the run. Both of them are going to start with Lolo and La, just because when you first spawn in the level, you end up a little closer there. MK missing a double hit there on the first cycle. They both got a double hit on that cycle there, though. So it looks like this roughly 6-second lead is probably going to be maintained here. MK is going to go for Cracko second. Looks like he's not going to opt for the damage boost into this door. Darksol also not going to opt for the damage boost to get through the Gordo. Only saves a second or two, so it's not a huge deal. So Cracko round 2, once again, this is one of the places where RNG can really be a big time loss if they just get particularly unlucky. See what it gives them there. Slightly better luck for Darksol so far, so the lead is essentially completely gone. It's probably a little pointless for me to talk about a lead until they actually finish the fight, though. Very even. Both of them getting a dead cycle there. Alright, that's pretty much just a 1-second difference. So we're going to go in. They're both going to do Cabula third. So they're going to be ending it on Wispy. Darksol playing a little safe there on that last jump. Otherwise, their movement here looks to be pretty much identical. Absolutely the most even race I've watched, just throughout the entire race. Darksol choosing to play a little further back. Looks like she's taken a little bit more damage on the previous fights. I hadn't actually noticed that, so she really wants to make sure she preserves that health. MK going in with 4 health to the last refight. Darksol going in with only 3. Once again, both of them choosing not to do the Gordo skip there. That one is much tighter than the Cracko one, though, so absolutely not surprising that they would opt not to go for it. We got better luck for Darksol than MK, so we were actually 1 apple ahead on her side. And then it evens out, so we are back to right neck and neck. They're going to be going into DDD almost exactly in sync. Pretty much a second apart. So this is absolutely incredible. MK managing to set up a task bit on that, and I think he just missed the double hit. It looked like he swallowed the star by accident. He set up another task bit. So MK, so the way MK is setting up these task bits is he's spitting out a star and then swallowing it after he spits it. And if he gets a jump from DDD after that, and he has any extra health to work with, he can attempt to suck in both stars at the same time. And the first star he sucks in will spit out immediately. Oh, and there's the final hit from MK. Sorry, I was a little bit behind on that. So we are going to have MK winning this first race here. Very close, though. That was officially a 7-second difference on SRL. So incredibly close first race, and both of them sub 12. That is an absolutely insane timing to go for. Just based on luck, like I don't even think you can reliably get that. And here we are, both runners getting it. So absolutely incredible performance for both of them on this first race. Game 1 is going to MK. +1. Yeah, so to finish what I was describing earlier, the double hits on DDD. So you can set up a glitched state for Kirby by swallowing a star after you spit it out. And once you do this, there are 2 consequences of this state. The first consequence is that if you suck in a single object, you can spit it out immediately without waiting. Usually there's a little bit of a delay before you can spit it out again. When you have this state, you can spit it immediately. That allows you to do small time saves on some fights, including the first Wispy. But the other consequence is if you suck in multiple objects at the same time, all of the objects except for the last one will get spit out as soon as they reach Kirby. And then the last object, when it reaches Kirby, he'll just catch it in his mouth like normal. So against DDD, when DDD does his jump and produces 2 stars, there's a very small window where Kirby can actually catch both stars. The first star will hit DDD, and he'll keep the second one and be able to hit DDD with it just a few seconds later. So we saw MK going for it throughout the fight. I don't believe he actually managed to get it there, unfortunately. But he did clinch the win. Darksol, I'm not sure if she was going for that. I'm almost certain she knows how to do it, but I don't believe DDD gave her a pattern that would have allowed her to even attempt a double hit. Of note, it's very difficult to do the double hit without taking damage against DDD, so MK going in with an extra health against DDD gave him a little bit more room to work with to actually go for the double hits. MK in chat is saying that he did actually get one, so I guess I missed one. I was trying to watch both sides of the match, and I thought I had seen him suck in both stars, but then accidentally swallow the second one at one point. So I must have misseen that. So we are setting up the second race. Should be set with that fairly shortly. Looks like MK is ready. Something to look out for going into this second match is just the fact that MK winning by about 7 seconds. That's about as much time as he saved over Darksol by getting his RNG manip. If he had missed his RNG manip, it would have, and everything else had played out the same, it would have been an almost exact tie. So we will see in this second match if MK can land his manip a second time. Looks like both races are ready, so we are in the countdown for the race, and we should be starting very soon. Should be going now, in fact. So we'll see. Might be a little bit ahead because I'm watching the SRL race and not the restream. Actually, it looks like I'm quite a bit ahead. My apologies for jumping the gun on that. Oh. There we go. Alright. Yeah, I jumped the gun a lot. Lesson learned, I will not watch the SRL race to figure out when the race is going to start. The runners are in sync currently, going into Poppy Jr. As we saw last time, I don't think there's any risk that either of them are going to get a dance after this second bomb. They should be coming out of the fight almost in sync. Oh no! MKCocoon actually looks like he missed his RNG manipulation. So he is going to be a little bit behind coming out of this mini-boss fight. Unfortunately, I'm not sure if he has a backup to sync his manipulation back up after this point. So we'll see. We'll probably know going into... I guess Wispy will know, based on whether he gets double apple drops or not. Darksol, however, going to be going into the fight quite a bit ahead of MK, actually. Looks like maybe about 10 seconds if I did that math correctly. Alright, so we got double apples from Darksol, unless I just looked away at MK's screen right when a spit happened. And it looks like MK did manage to sync his RNG minute back up, so he might be able to make this time back up here in the second stage. But we are looking at a almost a 10-second lead for Darksol. So I see Darksol doing a lot of small hops in that previous room. I'm not sure if that's because she's doing an RNG manipulation, or if that's simply because it's something to do on a long room where there's not a lot else going on. As I mentioned before, you can kind of track the RNG seed by just watching the particles when Kirby lands. Yeah, so I had not heard about her going for an RNG manipulation, but from what I'm seeing with when she's choosing to do hops and when she stops doing them, it looks like she probably is going for something here. Although based on that little la la pattern, she either missed it or I'm just completely mistaken. MK on the other hand, looks like he did sync his manipulation back up. He's gotten 2 double hits already, and it looks like he's going to get the third. So he actually got an even better low, 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 and la, la, la than last time, and he's completely made up the deficit, and he's actually a second ahead now. So going into stage 3, once again, very close between the two competitors. Actually much closer than last time. This time it's only a second difference instead of about a 7-second difference. We should see pretty similar movement between the two of them. MK actually doing a task double spit, as I mentioned after the previous match. Doesn't really make I don't think it saves or loses any time there. It's just his preferred way of going through that stage. Seeing a little bit of sloppy movement for both of these competitors, by their standards, of course. Not, it's still absolutely cleaner than mine, and indeed most of the competitors we've seen here. Interesting small difference between the two competitors there. MKCocoon opting to destroy the top breakable block in that wall on the previous screen. Darksol opting to break the one just below it. As far as I'm aware, that's just preference, but I do know from personal experience that you have to be a little careful with how you do your movement when you break the top block. Otherwise, you'll fail to actually get into the gap. Neither competitor had an issue with that, however, and looks like MK has had slightly cleaner movement. Looks like he's going to be going into the Cabula fight maybe about 2.5 seconds ahead of Darksol. MK does notably have very low health, however. Darksol actually came into this with full health, which was a little confusing to me. I could have sworn I saw her taking damage in the previous room. And we are back to about just a 1 second difference. So these two competitors are just extremely neck and neck. Looks like this is almost certainly going to just come down to boss RNG, starting with Cracko here in level 4. Once again, both of them making this screen look like it's absolutely easy. Darksol sucking up an extra enemy there at the end. I wonder if that's for lag reduction, possibly. Speaking of lag reduction, MK, again, getting a decent amount of lag because he left one of the Waddle Doos alive and it did choose to use an attack. Seen a couple of damage boosts from Darksol here. I don't think that last one was intentional. Fortunately, this screen is the last time where we should be worried about either competitor taking damage. And Darksol looks like has actually taken a very slight lead here. Couple movement errors from MK has given up 2 or 3 seconds over the last few rooms. Nice, peaceful Cracko Jr. fight. Long as you really pay attention, there's not a whole lot that can really go wrong here. The only real important thing to optimize is at the very end, just making sure you're in position to grab that Warp Star as soon as it appears. We got the visual glitch from Darksol once again. Not going to see it from MKCocoon because he does not pick up the leaf in the same way that Darksol does. I'm not actually sure which method is faster, MK choosing to drift into the leaf and Darksol choosing to inhale it. I do know that Mug's task of extra mode drifts into it the way that MKCocoon does, which is the most I have to any reason to really know whether one is faster than the other. So we have Darksol on the last screen here before Cracko. I'll try and pay attention to the times. That's a 7:06 for Darksol, and we're looking at 7:10 for MK. So we're at a 4-second difference here. But Cracko RNG is absolutely going to be the start of the vicious gauntlet of RNG that really decides who wins this match here. Got about a 2-hit lead for Darksol here. Not seeing particularly bad RNG for either runner. Average RNG, you would kind of expect every roughly third action to be dropping an enemy so that you can do damage. MK getting better RNG. Darksol had a pretty big drought before that last Waddle Doo. And MK is actually going to come out of the fight first. Cracko just chose to be very nice to him. Darksol going to be coming out a few seconds later. And it's going to be about 5 seconds difference coming into stage 5 here. Once again, we should see both of them going into Lolo and Lalala first. I would be surprised if either of them chooses to do a different pattern than last time, so we should actually see them going through in the same order here. It'll be Lolo and Lalala, followed by Cracko, followed by Capula, and finally Wispy. Not seeing any double hits for MK there. Oh, there's one now. Looks like Darksol got one at the same time. Darksol didn't actually get a double hit, but she did manage to save a block for the next cycle and got a double hit on that one as a result. Looks like the lead has grown just a little bit for MK here going into Cracko. Once again, both of them opting not to go for Gordo Skip and just to save their health instead. Not too surprising because both of them seem to prefer to use that health to try and aggressively go for double hits against Lolo and Lalala, which saves probably as much time per double hit, if not more so than skipping the Gordo here before the Cracko refight. So probably the correct choice for each of them to do that. And then to just save, since they do also both know how to go for the double hits on DDD, saving the extra health here in this stage is more important than skipping the Gordo. And MK getting pretty good luck there on that Cracko as well. He's definitely extended his lead by quite a bit. Cracko was not kind to Darksol in this race. The first Cracko was a little bit kinder to MK than her. The second one absolutely just potentially decided the match right there. DDD absolutely, however, can make a huge difference, although MK taking a lot of damage here. He's going to be going into DDD with 1 health, assuming most likely he's not going to take damage here against in the Wispy stage or against Wispy himself. We'll see if Darksol can manage to preserve all of the 4 hit points she has here. If that gives her the opportunity to get some double hits that MK won't be able to do, that could be what really makes that can be Darksol's big chance to steal this match back. Having said that, however, there is just a chance, since he is at literally just 1 health, MK might opt to just intentionally take a death at the start of DDD. It'll take 5 oh no, he dies to Wispy actually. Oh wow, okay, so absolutely that is now the race in Darksol's favor. I did not expect to see that. That is crazy. The race definitely isn't over yet. As I said, DDD could simply choose to not give Darksol any opportunities to deal damage. But if we assume even reasonably comparable luck between these two runners, we should see Darksol clinching out this race. And right there, we immediately see a double hit from Darksol. Looks like she's not opting to try and chain these double hits, either that or just unfortunately missing the task spit setup. But she has a 6-hit lead against DDD, now 7 hits. She got her final task bit, didn't get a jump though, so we are just going to see 2 more hammers to close this out, and Darksol is going to take game 2. Looks like it'll most likely be by about 4, well, I shouldn't try to guess how quick an DDD fight is going to be. Looks like Cocoon might be opting not to finish. Let me take a look at the... Yeah, MK simply opted to forfeit the race once he saw Darksol finish. He was probably watching the race channel once he died in Wispy. So it's not going to be another sub 12, but a 12:04 is still absolutely a crazy time for a race. RNG was not super kind to her in Cracko 1 and very much not in Cracko 2, but solid movement and just keeping through it, and a couple of double hits on DDD made for just a very solid run for Darksol. MK unfortunately taking that death on Wispy and just kind of really losing the footing he had there. Alright. And here we are with race channel for a third match. I will not make the mistake of saying that the race has started when it starts on SRL, however, because then it'll be about 30 seconds until you guys see it. So, wow. Back-to-back incredible runs. We saw 2 sub-12s in the first race, with MK pulling slightly ahead. Oh, excuse me while I update the UI. And Darksol with solid play. Unfortunately, not as good RNG as she got in the first race, but very solid play and a couple of double hits. Very solid 1204. Once again, an extremely impressive race time for this game. I seem not to have updated the score properly. Or it's just not updating on... Well, we've started the second race. I apologize that the score has not updated to show the victory Darksol got in race number 2. But here in race number 3, it is 1-1. We have the two almost perfectly synced going into the Poppy fight. Not too surprising. There's not a whole lot that can go wrong on that first stage. We'll see MK failed his manip for this particular part of the run last time. Looks like he got it this time now. So the two are going to be synced once again coming out of Poppy Jr. Both of them taking that damage boost, which they make it look like child's play, but it is very easy to miss. So it looks like Darksol has pulled ahead by half a second or a second here. We'll see if she gets double apple patterns, however, to keep up with MK. We should be able to expect that from him because he is doing his RNG manip. And indeed, we did see a spit on Darksol's side. So MK will come out of this first boss fight a little bit ahead. Looks like about 2 seconds there, I think. Still a very tight match, though. But we'll see if MK manages to keep his manip the whole way through this stage. We should see him gaining an even slightly bigger lead, unless Darksol just happens upon just as good of an RNG, just as good as of a low and la pattern as MK gets. Looks like MK has got his pattern. We should see all 3 appearances on the top of the screen here for him if he has the RNG manip down, and he did get that. So we can expect that his pattern is still working. Oh, Darksol going for Curry here. I wonder if she thinks this will give her the edge she needs to clinch it out here, or if she's worried that she might think that she's been getting worse RNG than MK kind of throughout these matches and might want to limit the RNG here on this particular boss fight. A little bit sloppy movement, so I don't think she's going to get the double kill there. But she does manage to immediately kill one of them, so now she won't lose time just by having a bad pattern on one of these that doesn't allow her to get a double kill or a double hit. She only has to worry about 1 each time, which is almost guaranteed. Unfortunately, she did lose a cycle because the Curry ran out right as she destroyed that first cycle's block, but before she could get a hit off on the second of the pair. So again, MK did come out of level 2 with a decent chunk of time over Darksol. To be expected since he is going for a manip where Darksol is not. But his manip ended at that boss fight, so we should. So the rest of the time really will just come down to raw RNG and how clean their movement is. Looks like MK's stream is a little choppy right now. I'm not 100% sure that that's on his end and not on mine, but looks like it smoothed back out, so no issues with that. Both of them getting through stage 3 here with 4 health. Should be absolutely plenty to get through the Cabula fight, playing as aggressively as they want to. They really shouldn't have any risk of dying before they can take off all of Cabula's health, and this will let them just kind of try and sit right on top of where the final star will appear after Cabula dies, in order to start the next stage as soon as possible. MK slightly off, but only losing a few frames because of it, and Darksol being right on top of it. Gonna fade out at 4:55 for MK to go into Cracko's stage. We'll see what Darksol gets here. That's gonna be a 5:03, so we are looking at about an 8-second lead for MKCocoon. A slightly bigger lead than we saw in the first race, but absolutely still subject to just whatever the RNG, the 2 Crackos and DDD choose to give him from now on. As well as Wispy. Wispy in the refight can choose to be a little mean and just hold those apples back for a while. We're seeing clean movement from Darksol, and I have seen that it looks like she has a little bit more lag reduction strats in these rooms. So as long as her movement is clean, we should see her gaining back little fractions of a second here and there throughout this stage. Looks like MK slightly missing a jump there. Darksol getting hit a couple times. That second hit actually saved time rather than losing it, because it did hit her in the right direction. Saves a couple frames when you get hit in the right direction in this game, as long as you have the health to spare and you don't have to trade it off by playing something too safe later on. Although if you take a damage boost right before a door, you actually save a little bit more time than normal. So we're going to enter the Leaf Room at 6:27 for MK. See if Darksol's lead has... and at 6:33. So it looks like Darksol has made back 2 seconds so far, cutting in a quarter of the lead that MK had over her going into this section of the run. Trying to see if I can tell whether either of them is getting more lag in the screen than the other. There are shooting stars that kind of fall down at random in the screen, and if they spawn at just in unlucky patterns at unlucky times as you're destroying those blocks, it can actually cause a bit of lag. I think I saw a little bit more for MK than for Darksol, but certainly not enough to make a huge difference. So we are here in the first Cracko fight. This is one of the 3 main boss battles that can really just be mean to the player. Seeing 2 decently early Waddle Doos for MK. And kind of as has been the trend in these races, we're seeing slightly better luck on Cracko 1 for MK than Darksol has been getting. Looks like better RNG than last race for Darksol, however, so the lead won't be too big. Probably about 10 seconds here. I'll make a note when MK enters the Lolo and Lala door. So it looks like we're at 8:11 flat. We'll see if Darksol can still make up this time. Again, all it takes is the second Cracko refight or DDD himself to just be very generous to Darksol, and she'll make up all this time, no problem. I was looking away, however, and didn't pay attention to the door entry, so I didn't get to see whether the lead has, just how big the lead is. Looks like Darksol is starting this fight just a little bit before MK is finishing it. Darksol missing some double hits. Ooh, squeezing it in there, though. Very good. So we saw MK enter the Cracko refight door at 47, and Darksol entering it just before 9:07 on her screen. So it looks like we're looking at a 19 to 20 second lead for MK here. So far, not too bad on the Cracko luck for him. Did MK just miss a star? Hopefully that doesn't come back to bite him. Looks like Cracko's still being pretty generous. As I mentioned earlier, the kind of average luck for this, you would expect to see a Waddle Doo every 3 actions or so. An action being either attacking with the laser beams, dropping a Waddle Doo, or moving to the other side of the screen. Darksol getting pretty good luck on this fight as well, much better than than the previous race. I believe she's made back a little bit of the time that she was missing. MK taking a little bit of damage here on this Cabula fight. Darksol playing very up close on Cabula. But she backs off once the attacks start. So looks like she'll be going in with 4 HP. Versus MK's 3, although I suppose after the previous race, I shouldn't take it for granted that MK will come out of here with 3 HP. So we'll see. He gets apples right off the bat, so good luck for him. He gets double apples, so he does get a perfect Wispy RNG. Apples for Darksol as well. Entering DDD here at 57. Darksol getting some spits, so unfortunately going to lose a little bit of time on DDD, or on Wispy, my apologies. Looks like Darksol got a task bit to save a little bit of time there. So it looks like we are at a 14-second difference between the two going into DDD. MK has not gotten too many hits off so far. Although, as I say that, he gets 2 more in a row. Has yet to give Darksol a hit as far as I've seen. MK got a task bit set up there. Darksol, I think, missed it on that. Oh no, I was wrong. Darksol absolutely got it, so that's a double hit for Darksol. MK only has 2 more hits to go, though, so unless DDD really gives him a dry spell, this could be the end coming up soon. That's going to be the last hit for MK, so that should be MK's win for this best of 3. Absolutely fantastic runs from both competitors. That was a sub 12 for MK. He stopped his timer late because he had to close out the SRL race first. And in fact, on SRL, the official timing is an 11:59, so that is 2 sub 12 performances for MK. He did forfeit the second one, although it looked like he was going to get about a 12:30 if he continued it. Darksol is going to come in with a 12:06, so it's going to be a sub 12 and 2 very low 12-minute performances for her. Absolutely incredible runs from both competitors. I can't imagine there's been a race that has been as close as these two or as high level. So this was an absolute treat to see and to get to commentate. Looks like I will be joined by the competitors for interviews. I don't actually know if this is if I'm doing both at once, individually. I don't know how this works. This is my first time commentating for Speed Gaming. So I'll just wait for someone to tell me what happens or for the competitors to just suddenly appear in the Discord channel, in which case I will try to do something. Hey, MK, and hello, Darksol. So it looks like I am joined by both competitors here. Absolutely amazing performances from both of you. I cannot believe the first race was sub 12 for both of you, and MK just squeezing in a second sub 12 in that last one. I never expected I would see double sub 12s in a race. So good stuff to both of you. I have no idea what to ask either of you because I was not prepared for interviews in any way. So I guess I'll just start off by asking. I guess I'll start with Darksol. Is there anything in particular either that went really well or that you feel didn't go as well as you wanted that you'd like to highlight and just talk about?
On the upside, I would say the Dream Dreams on my set of game was good. Floor Islands, no. Floor Islands slept all the way down.
All right.
I kept making so many mistakes.
Gotcha. Well, I'm sure it felt like a lot more mistakes to you than it looked to any of us. To me at least, it looked like you and MKU as well. Both of you just looked like you had incredibly clean movement all the way through. A couple places here and there where you got hit where I don't think you intended to, but incredible movement.
We don't talk about that race too.
Oh well.
We don't talk about that race too.
No. Since you brought it up, MK. So I obviously it goes without saying that the death to Wispy was unexpected. What I'm curious of, however, because you did actually have a small lead at that point, I'm not sure if you were aware of that. Were you planning to go into DDD with 1 health, or would you have taken the death and reset to full health after that?
Yeah, I think I would have intentional death because I knew both my Float Islands and Bubbly Clouds are absolute train wrecks, so I pulled up the stream to see where I was in relation to Darksol, so I know how much risk to take in that DDD. And then I saw that she got a really bad Cracko 2, I think it was. So I was like, okay, yeah. I should be able to just play it safe. And then I got hit 3 times in Cavula. That never happens.
I wanted to ask you about that too, because I had looked away. You had 4 health when you went into the Cavula fight, and I had been seeing both of you play it relatively safe on the refight. And even in your first fights when you were deliberately taking damage, I don't think you usually took more than 2 health. So I was extremely surprised when I looked back over and you had no health left.
The way I do that fight is I just bank on Cavula shooting as many straight shots as possible, but she fired so many scatter shots that I got hit so many times. That was one of the worst ones I've ever had. It was so bad.
Alright.
And I died to Wispy, so yeah.
If it makes you feel any better, I have definitely had runs where I just whack the apple and just okay.
Unfortunate. And then Darksol, I think you mentioned it, but you mentioned the Race 2 Cracko 2 fight. Oh no, MK, you mentioned the RNG, I think. One of you mentioned Race 2 Cracko 2, and
that would be MK.
I did mention it, but I think it was Darksol who got a bad one, unless I interpreted the race wrong. Because
no, what I was going to say is that absolutely, of all the boss fights, the only boss fight where either of you ever really got bad RNG was Darksol's Cracko 2 in Race 2. I think she lost almost 20 seconds there. Maybe not quite that much, but in the end, that Wispy death ended up being way bigger.
How many bad cycles is it?
I wasn't counting. I kind of tried to keep track in my head, but doing it for both of you at once was just too much. I think it was close to 15 or more.
Oh, 15 or more, dang, okay. That's pretty insane.
Cracko. There you go.
Cracko.
Yeah. not sure what else to talk about. I saw both of you going for double hits. I think on DDD. I think race 3 was the only one where I saw both of you getting double hits in the same race, though.
We both got double hits in race 1 also.
Did you? Okay. Well, then
Yeah. I know I got one.
Apologies.
Okay,
Alright.
I actually choked a PB. I choked PB in race 1. It would have been 11:35 if I didn't choke so hard. Because I missed
geez,
2
really?
hits on DDD. I accidentally swallowed a star trying to test spit it, and then because of that, I couldn't double hit a jump that came. So
Oh wow.
It would have been like 11:34 or something. That was.
Wow, that would have been absolutely insane.
Wait, Darksol, I saw in chat, did you try Curry kill in the 3rd race?
Yes, I did. Unfortunately, I kind of messed up my movements, and what would have actually been the tail did not end up being the tail.
Okay, how many hits did you get?
I got 3. I could have probably gotten 6 if I didn't mess up early.
Okay, yeah, Curry kill's hard. I do have a Curry minute, but I've never actually hit it in a run. Because Curry is just too hard. So.
Yeah.
I'm kind of relieved, but this means I actually have to try harder at KDL, which, I don't know, it's a double-edged sword.
I guess so. Well, I think I'm out of questions that I wanted to ask you. I'm not seeing any questions in chat either. Is there anything either of you would like to kind of just say to the viewers before we sign out?
Darksol, you want to go first? If you have any.
All I have to say is Cracko.
That's a good one. I don't know, I guess I'll plug myself a little bit. I speedrun all sorts of Kirby games on my channel, twitch.tv/MKCocoon. I do all the GBA DS games, Star Allies, and this one. So, come by at some point if you want.
All right, well, thank you two very much. Incredible runs all around. Definitely the highest level race I've seen so far, and very close races individually as well. Congratulations to MK on the win, and good luck to both of you going forward in the bracket.
Yep, thanks.
All right, and thank you all for watching here on Speed Gaming. This was winners round 3, I believe, of the Cracko crushing DreamLand any % normal mode tournament.
More like Cracko crushing dreams.
Yeah. Yeah, so thank you very much for watching, and hope you all tune in later on for more awesome races as this tournament continues. Have a good one.